A lot of people don't like her.
Team! We're doing it again! Team!
She's got a big mouth. She talked.
So this point has been made, but this truly is the worst casting, maybe in the history of the film industry.
Rachel Zegler's rise to stardom was nothing short of meteoric. With her breakout performance as Maria in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, she instantly captured the attention of Hollywood and audiences worldwide. Charismatic immensely, talented and hailed as one of the most promising young actresses of her generation, Rachel seemed destined for a long and successful career. She was backed by a team of seasoned professionals, people whose job it was to help her navigate the complexities of fame, contracts, and creative decisions. At just 20 years old, she had every reason to believe she was in good hands. But in the often unforgiving world of entertainment, trust can be a fragile thing. And now, that trust appears to be unraveling, according to a growing swell of rumors, whispers from within the industry, and a deeply concerned fan base. Rachel Zegler may be facing one of the most unexpected and painful betrayals of her young career. And the most shocking part, the alleged betrayal may have come not from an external source, but from someone within her own inner circle, her agent. For most actors, an agent is more than just a representative. They're a strategist, a gatekeeper, and often a confidant. They're responsible for shaping the deals that define a career, filtering the noise, and ensuring their clients' long-term success and protection. That's why the recent revelations surrounding Rachel's highly publicized Vita contract have sparked such intense speculation. What was once seen as a powerful move for the young star, an ambitious role that could further establish her in the industry, is now being reframed as something far more sinister. A possible trap allegedly set by the very person entrusted to secure her best interests. Leaks and rumors surrounding the deal have painted an increasingly troubling picture. Insiders claim that the terms of the contract may have placed Rachel in a vulnerable position, not just financially, but in terms of her creative freedom, public perception, and long-term options. It's not just that the contract was flawed. Some argue that it was negotiated with alarming haste and disregard for the potential consequences. Details remain unclear, but sources close to the situation suggest Rachel may have been pressured into signing an agreement that disproportionately benefits others, while tying her to obligations that could stifle her growth and complicate her public image. What's more, the silence from Rachel's team has only added fuel to the fire. Fans who have been vocal in their support and concern for the actress are now beginning to ask difficult questions. Why hasn't her agent or publicist addressed the controversy? Why was the Vita deal, which appeared to be a major career milestone, so poorly received once the details began to leak? And most importantly, did Rachel truly understand what she was signing, or was she manipulated into believing this was the right move? Some observers believe this could be a case of a young star being exploited by those who saw her as a stepping stone, rather than a client to protect. Others see it as a cautionary tale about power dynamics in the entertainment industry, how easily trust can be misplaced, and how quickly a rising star can be thrown into turmoil if even one person in their camp has a different agenda. As the controversy grows, Rachel herself has remained relatively quiet on the matter, leaving fans to piece together the truth from scraps of online discussion, industry leaks, and subtle changes in her public behavior. Meanwhile, Hollywood insiders are reportedly watching closely. The implications of this situation go beyond one contract or one actress. They speak to the deeper issues of loyalty, power, and agency in a business where appearances often mask deeper realities. For now, one haunting question continues to echo across fan forums, Twitter threads, and entertainment columns. Was Rachel Zegler betrayed by the very person she trusted to protect her career? Only time, and perhaps a public reckoning, will reveal the full truth.
In case you were wondering, no, that has absolutely nothing to do with the new Snow White movie that Rachel Zegler has been cast for, the one that she's been hating on online for the past couple of months that people have been talking about. This is just a huge attempt by her PR team to make her seem like she's apologetic and the things that she's said about the upcoming film coming out.
Behind every major Hollywood deal is a mountain of paperwork, and sometimes buried in the fine print are clauses that change everything. That may be exactly what happened in the case of Rachel Zegler's controversial Vita contract, according to multiple sources close to the production. The agreement included a highly unusual and arguably punitive clause, a $5 million conduct clause. That would financially penalize Rachel for any behavior deemed damaging to the show's image. Now, fans and insiders alike are questioning how such a clause came to exist and whether Rachel was ever fully informed about what she was signing. The clause, sources say, was triggered after rumors of backstage tension involving Rachel began circulating online. Clips, posts, and behind the scenes. Leaks depicting strained relationships and alleged conflicts quickly went viral. What may have started as minor friction soon snowballed into a PR problem for the show, and allegedly, that was all it took for the $5 million penalty to kick in. On the surface, this might seem like a straightforward case of cause and effect, but for many fans and industry watchers, it doesn't add up. First, the size and severity of the clause itself has raised eyebrows. Conduct clauses are not uncommon in Hollywood, especially for high-profile actors tied to family-friendly or brand-sensitive projects. But a $5 million penalty? For a star of Rachel's age and relative newness in the industry, that figure is unusually high, even draconian. Most contracts allow for mediation, warnings, or other steps before financial penalties are enforced. In Rachel's case, it appears the punishment was immediate and absolute. And that's where things start to look suspicious. Many fans are now pointing fingers at Rachel's agent, the same person who helped negotiate the Vita deal and allegedly fast-tracked it through final approval. According to those familiar with industry practices, such a clause would never have gone unnoticed by a professional agent. It's standard practice to flag any language that could expose a client to excessive risk. So why wasn't it removed? Why was Rachel reportedly never warned? Some believe the answer may lie in motivations that had little to do with Rachel's best interests. There's growing speculation that her agent may have had personal or professional incentives to push the deal through, regardless of the consequences. Whether it was a promised commission, pressure from producers, or a desire to secure a big-ticket credit for their agency, the theory goes that the agent may have prioritized their own gain over Rachel's protection. The result? A deal that appeared to elevate Rachel's career on paper, but may have been a trap in disguise. This controversy has ignited a broader conversation about how young actors, especially women, are treated behind the scenes in Hollywood. Who has often spoken about the pressures of fame and representation, now finds herself at the center of a media storm she may never have seen coming. Fans who once celebrated her as a rising star are now rallying around her as a possible victim of systemic failure. Someone who was let down by the very people meant to shield her from harm. The silence from Rachel's camp has only made things worse. Neither her agent nor her legal representatives have addressed the clause, its enforcement, or the nature of the negotiations that led to it. This lack of transparency has fueled further speculation and mistrust, with some even calling for Rachel to cut ties with her entire team. For many, the situation represents a clear breach of duty, a betrayal by someone whose job was to protect, not exploit that. As the backlash grows and the entertainment industry takes note, one thing is becoming clear: this isn't just a story about a contract gone wrong. It's a cautionary tale about trust, power, and the hidden costs of fame. Rachel Zegler may have walked into the Vita deal believing it was her next big break. Instead, it may have exposed just how dangerous the business side of show business can be, especially when the people at the table aren't truly on your side. For now, fans continued to demand answers. And with Hollywood watching, the truth and the consequences may be just beginning to unfold.
Add fuel to the Rachel Zegler Oscar fiasco. But why did they have these women, all Disney princesses, all stated as Disney princesses, come out to present, but not include Rachel Zegler, who's going to be Snow White? They're clearly acknowledging Disney princesses from movies that have not been released yet. Someone must have had this conversation and then they purposely left her out, even though she was the only one with a hit movie this year of the 4. Did anyone else notice this?
Just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse for Rachel Zegler. Another layer of the unfolding scandal has emerged, one that paints an even more troubling picture, according to several unconfirmed but increasingly persistent reports. The damaging details of Rachel's Vita contract specifically. The controversial $5 million conduct clause may not have been uncovered by investigative journalists or leaked by studio insiders. Instead, some sources suggest the leak may have come from someone much closer to home, inside her own camp. Whispers are growing louder that an individual with direct access to Rachel's private business affairs may have quietly released sensitive contract details to the press, triggering the storm of scrutiny that now surrounds her, while the identity of the alleged source remains unconfirmed. Speculation has quickly turned toward members of her own representation team, the very people who were entrusted to protect her. If this theory proves true, Rachel's current crisis is no longer just a result of backstage drama or a poorly negotiated deal. It may be the result of a calculated betrayal from within. Observers have pointed out a series of strange moves and silences that lend credibility to the theory. Following the leak, Rachel's team, particularly her agent, was already under fire for allegedly pushing through the Vita contract, with little regard for its long-term impact, appeared to go dark. There were no strong public statements of support, no defense, no clarification. Instead, insiders say members of her circle began to quietly distance themselves, withdrawing from media engagements, pulling back from shared promotional efforts, and avoiding direct questions about the clause or the circumstances surrounding it. To fans and industry watchers, this behavior doesn't look like damage control. It looks like self-preservation. What's emerging now is a narrative not of a celebrity scandal, but of systemic failure. Rachel Zegler, once seen as a breakout success story, young, immensely talented, and full of promise, may have been set up for a public and professional fall by the very people whose job it was to lift her up. The betrayal theory doesn't focus on what Rachel may or may not have done behind the scenes. Instead, it asks a far more painful and sobering question. Who put her in this position in the first place? This shift in perspective is resonating deeply with her fans, many of whom are now rallying around her, not just as supporters of her work, but as defenders of her humanity. In a business that thrives on control, image management, and high stakes negotiations, it's often young, newly famous talent, especially women, who find themselves the most vulnerable, with her trust potentially violated by someone on the inside. Rachel may be facing a reality that no rising star should have to confront, that her greatest threat didn't come from critics or producers, but from within her trusted circle. If the leak did come from her own team, the motivation behind it remains unclear. Was it an attempt to preempt a larger story? A power move? A distancing tactic by someone hoping to save their own reputation at Rachel's expense? Whatever the reason, the fallout has been swift and severe. The headlines, the public speculation, and the viral backlash have already taken a toll on Rachel's image and potentially her future projects. But beyond the career implications lies something more profound: the emotional toll of realizing that your closest allies might have become your greatest liability. Hollywood is no stranger to stories of betrayal, but this one strikes a particularly raw nerve. It's about more than a leaked clause or bad press. It's about the shattering of trust and the loneliness that comes when the people who promise to guide and protect you turn out to be the ones pushing you toward the edge. Rachel Zegler may have signed the contract. She may have stepped onto the Vita set with the belief that this was her next big moment. But if these reports are accurate, she wasn't set up to succeed, she was set up to fall. And as the truth begins to surface, one thing has become painfully clear: Rachel isn't just facing producers or public opinion. She may now be fighting a much harder battle against the very people who were supposed to be on her side.